Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to the Count of Monte Cristo, Chapter 66, Constellation. Monsieur de Beauville had indeed met the funeral procession which was accompanying Valentine to her last resting place in the cemetery of Père Lachaise. At the cortege, as the cortege was leaving Paris, a carriage drawn by 4 horses came along at full speed and suddenly stopped. Monte Cristo alighted and mingled in the crowd who were following the hearse on foot. When Chateau Renaud and Beauchamp perceived him, they also alighted from their carriages and joined him. The Count's eager eyes searched the crowd. It was obvious that he was looking for someone. At length he could restrain himself no longer. "Where is Morel?" he asked. "Did either of you gentlemen know?" "We have already asked ourselves that question. No one seems to have seen him." The Count remained silent, but continued to look around him. They arrived at the cemetery. Monte Cristo peered into every clump of yew and pine, and was at length relieved of all anxiety. He saw a shadow glide along the dark bushes, and recognized whom he sought. This shadow crossed rapidly, but unseen, to the hearse, and walked beside the coffin-bearers to the spot selected for the grave. Everyone's attention was occupied, but Monte Cristo saw only the shadow, which was otherwise unobserved by all around him. Twice did the Count leave the ranks to see whether the man had not some weapon hidden under his clothes. When the procession stopped, the shadow was recognized as Morel. His coat was buttoned up to his chin, his cheeks were hollow and livid, and he nervously clasped and unclasped his hands. He took his place against a tree on a hillock overlooking the grave, so that he might not miss one detail of the service. Everything was conducted in the usual manner, though Monte Cristo heard and saw nothing, or rather he saw nothing but Morel, whose calmness and motionlessness were alarming to him, who could read what was passing through the young man's mind. The funeral over, the guests returned to Paris. When everyone had gone, Maximilien left his place against the tree and spent a few minutes in silent prayer beside Valentine's grave. Then he got up, and without looking back once, turned down the Rue de la Roquette. Monte Cristo had been hiding behind a large tomb, watching Morel's every movement. Dismissing his carriage, he now followed the young man on foot as he crossed the canal and entered the Rue Meslay by the boulevards. 5 minutes after the door had been closed on Morel, it was opened again for Monte Cristo. Julie was in the garden watching Penelon, who, taking his position as gardener very seriously, was grafting some Bengal roses. "Oh, is that you, Count?" she cried with the delight each member of the family generally manifested every time he made his appearance there. "Maximilien has just come in, has he not?" asked the Count. "I think I saw him come in," replied the young woman. "But pray call on Emmanuel." "Excuse me a minute, madame. I must go up to Maximilien at once. I have something of great importance to tell him." "Go along, then," she said, giving him a charming smile. Monte Cristo soon ran up the 2 flights of stairs that separated Maximilien's room from the ground floor. He stood on the landing for a moment and listened. There was not a sound. As in the case of most old houses, the door of the chamber was paneled with glass. Maximilien had shut himself inside, and it was impossible to see through the glass what was happening in the room, as a red silk curtain was drawn across. The Count's anxiety was manifested by his high color, an unusual sign of emotion in this impassive man. "What am I to do?" he murmured as he reflected for a moment. "Shall I ring? Oh no, the sound of a bell announcing a visitor often hastens the resolutions of those in the position in which Maximilien must now be. Then the tinkling of the bell will be accompanied by another sound." He was trembling from head to foot, and, with his usual lightning-like rapidity in coming to a decision, he suddenly pushed his elbow through one of the panes of the door, which broke into 1,000 pieces. Raising the curtain, he saw Morel at his desk with a pen in hand. He started up with a jump when he heard the noise made by the broken glass. "I am so sorry," said the Count. "It is nothing. I slipped, and in doing so I pushed my elbow through your door. However, I will now take the opportunity of paying you a visit. Pray, do not let me disturb you." Putting his hand through the broken glass, he opened the door. Obviously annoyed, Morel came forward to meet the Count, not so much with the intention of welcoming him as of barring his way. "It is your servant's fault," said Monte Cristo, rubbing his elbow. "Your floors are as slippery as glass." "Have you cut yourself?" Morel asked coldly. "I do not know. But what were you doing? Were you writing with those ink-stained fingers?" "Yes, I was writing," replied Morel. "I do sometimes, though I am a soldier." Monte Cristo went further into the room, and Morel was compelled to let him pass. "You were writing?" inquired Monte Cristo with an annoyingly searching look. "I have already had the honor of telling you that I was." The Count looked round at him. Your pistol's on your desk beside you, said he, pointing to the two weapons. I am going on a journey. My friend, said Monte Cristo with infinite tenderness. My good friend, make no hasty resolution, I beg you. I make a hasty resolution, exclaimed Morel. In what way can a journey be deemed a hasty resolution? Maximilian, resumed Monte Cristo, let us lay aside our masks. You can no more deceive me with your exterior calmness than I can mislead you with my frivolous solicitude. You no doubt understand that to have acted as I have done, to have broken a pane of glass, intruded on the privacy of a friend, I must have been actuated by a terrible conviction. Morel, you intend to take your life. Morel started. Whence do you get that idea, Count? He said. I declare that you intend taking your life. Here is my proof, said Monte Cristo in the same tone of voice, going to the desk. He removed the blank piece of paper with which the young man had covered the half-finished letter and picked it up. Morel reached forward to wrest it from him, but Monte Cristo had anticipated this and forestalled him by seizing his wrist. You must confess that you intend to kill yourself, for it is written here, said the Count. Well, and if I have decided to turn this pistol against myself, who shall prevent me? Cried Morel, passing from his momentary appearance of calmness to an expression of violence. When I say that all my hopes are frustrated, my heart broken, and my life worthless, since the world holds no more charms for me, nothing but grief and mourning. When I say that it would be a mercy to let me die, for if you do not, I shall lose my reason and become mad. When I tell you all this with tears of heartfelt anguish, who can say to me, you are wrong? Who would prevent me from putting an end to such a miserable existence? Tell me, Count, would you have the courage? Yes, Morel, said Monte Cristo in a voice which contrasted strangely with the young man's excitement. Yes, I would. You, cried Morel with an angry and reproachful expression. You who deceived me with absurd hopes. You who cheered me, solaced, and soothed me with vain promises when I could have saved her life by some swift and drastic step, or at least could have seen her die in my arms. You who pretended to have all the resources of science at your disposal and all power over matter, yet could not administer an antidote to a poisoned girl. In truth, Count, if it were not that you inspire me with horror, I should feel pity for you. Morel, you told me to lay aside my mask, and rest assured I will do so. When you followed me here, I allowed you to enter, for I am soft-hearted, but since you abuse my confidence and defy me in my own room where I had enclosed myself as in my tomb, since you bring me new tortures when I thought all were exhausted, then, Count of Monte Cristo, my false benefactor, the universal savior, be satisfied. You shall see your friend die. With a maniacal laugh, he rushed toward the pistols again. Pale as a ghost, his eyes darting with fire, Monte Cristo put his hand over the weapon, saying, And I repeat once more that you shall not take your life. And who are you that you should take upon yourself such an authority over a free and rational being? Who am I? Replied Monte Cristo. I will tell you. I am the only man who has a right to say to you, Morel, I do not wish your father's son to die today. Morel, involuntarily acknowledging the Count's ascendancy over him, gave way a step. Why do you speak of my father? He stammered. Why bring my father's memory into what I am going to do today? Because I am the man who saved your father's life when he wanted to take it as you do today. Because I am the man who sent the purse to your sister and the ferrion to old Monsieur Morel. Because I am Edmond Dantes. Morel staggered, choking and crushed. His strength failed him, and with a cry he fell prostrate at Monte Cristo's feet. Then all of a sudden, his true nature completely reasserted himself. He rose and flew out of the room, calling out at the top of his voice, Julie! Julie! Emmanuel! Emmanuel! Monte Cristo also attempted to rush out, but Maximilian would sooner have let himself be killed than let go of the handle of the door, which he shut against him. Upon hearing Maximilian's shouts, Julie, Emmanuel, Penelon, and several servants came running up the stairs in alarm. Morel seized Julie by the hand and, opening the door, called out in a voice stifled with sobs, On your knees! On your knees! This is our benefactor. This is the man who saved our father. This is... He was going to say Edmond Dantes, but the Count restrained him. Julie threw herself into the Count's arms. Emmanuel embraced him, and Morel once more fell onto his knees. Then this man of iron felt his heart swelling within him. A burning flame seemed to raise in his throat, and from thence rush to his eyes. He bowed his head and wept. For a while nothing was heard in the room but weeping and sobbing, a sound that must have been sweet to the angels in heaven. Julie had scarcely recovered from the deep emotion that had overcome her when she rushed down to the salon and, with a childlike joy, raised the glass that protected the purse given by the unknown man of the Allée de Milan. Meanwhile, Emmanuel said to the Count in a broken voice, "Oh, Count, when you heard us speak so often of our unknown benefactor and perceived with what gratitude and homage we clothed his memory, how could you wait until today to make yourself known to us? It was cruel to us, and I almost ventured to say to yourself too, Count." "Listen, my friend," said the Count. "I may call you thus, for without knowing it, you have been my friend for 11 years. The discovery of this secret has been torn from me by a great event of which you must ever remain in ignorance. God is my witness that I intended to bury it forever in the depths of my heart. But your brother Maximilian has wrested it from me by a violence which I am sure he now regrets." Then, seeing Maximilian had thrown himself onto a chair apart from the others, he added in a low voice, "Watch over him." "Why?" asked the young man, amazed. "I cannot give you the reason, but watch over him." Emmanuel looked round the room and caught sight of the pistols. With a frightened look, he slowly raised his hand and pointed to them. Monte Cristo nodded his head. Emmanuel went to take the pistols. "Leave them," said the Count, and, going to Maximilian, took his hand. The tumultuous emotions that had for a moment shaken the young man's heart had now given way to profound stupor. Julie returned, holding in her hand the red silk purse. 2 bright tears of joy coursed down her cheeks like 2 drops of morning dew. "Here is the relic," she said, "but do not imagine it will be less dear to us because our benefactor has been revealed to us." "Permit me to take back that purse," responded Monte Cristo, turning a deep red. "Since you know the features of my face, I only wish to be remembered by the affection I ask you to give me." "Oh, no, no," said Julie, pressing the purse to her heart. "I entreat you not to take it away, for unfortunately you might be leaving us one day. Is that not so?" "You have guessed rightly," replied Monte Cristo with a smile. "In a week I shall have left this country, where so many people who merit the vengeance of heaven live happily, whilst my father died of grief and hunger." Then, realizing that he must make one final struggle against his friend's grief, he took Julie and Emmanuel's hands in his and said to them with the gentle authority of a father, "My good friends, I pray you, leave me alone with Maximilian." Julie saw a means of carrying away her precious relic, which Monte Cristo had forgotten to mention again, so she drew her husband away, saying, "Let us leave them." The Count stayed behind with Morrel, who remained as still as a statue. "Come, come," said the Count, tapping him on the shoulder with his burning fingers. "Are you going to be a man again?" "Yes, since I am beginning to suffer." The Count's forehead wrinkled in apparent indecision. "Maximilian, Maximilian," said he, "the ideas to which you are giving way are unworthy of a Christian." "Oh, do not be afraid," said Morrel, raising his head and smiling at the Count with a smile of ineffable sadness. "I shall make no attempt on my life. Then we shall have no more weapons and no more despair. No, for I have a better remedy for my grief than a bullet or the point of a knife." "You poor foolish fellow, what is this remedy? My grief itself will kill me." "Listen to me, my friend," said Monte Cristo. "One day, in a moment of despair as deep as yours, since it evoked a similar resolution, I, like you, wished to take my life. One day your father, equally desperate, wanted to kill himself. If anyone had said to your father at the moment when he put the muzzle of the pistol to his forehead, if anyone had said to me when I pushed from me the prison bread I had not tasted for 3 days, if anyone had said to us both at those critical moments, 'Live, the day will come when you will be happy and will bless your life,' no matter whence the voice had come, we should have welcomed it with doubtful smile or with agonizing incredulity. Yet how many times has your father not blessed his life when he embraced you? How many times have I myself—" "You only lost your liberty," interrupted Morrel. "My father had only lost his fortune, but I have lost Valentine." "Look at me, Morrel," said Monte Cristo with an air of solemnity which, on certain occasions, made him so grand and persuasive. "I have neither tears in my eyes nor fever in my veins, yet I see you suffer, Maximilian, whom I love as a son. Does that not tell you that in grief, as in life, there is always a hidden future? And if I entreat, nay, command you to live, Morrel, it is because I am convinced that the day will come when you will thank me for having saved your life." "Good God!" cried the Count. "What are you telling me, Count? Take care. Perhaps you have never loved." "Child," was the sole reply. "I mean as I love. You see, I have been a soldier ever since I was a boy, and was 29 before I fell in love. For none of the feelings I experienced before that time were worthy of the name of love. Well, when I was 29 years of age, I met Valentine, and have loved her for the past 2 years, and during that time I have observed in her all the virtues that take a true daughter and a wife. To have possessed Valentine, Count, would have been an infinite and immense happiness, too complete and divine for this world. Since this happiness has been denied me, there is nothing left for me on earth but despair and desolation. I tell you to hope, Morel, repeated the Count. You are trying to persuade me, you are trying to inspire me with the belief that I shall see Valentine again. The Count smiled. My friend, my father, cried Morel excitedly. The ascendancy you hold over me alarms me. Weigh your words carefully, for my eyes lighten up again and my heart takes on a fresh lease of life. I should obey you, though you command me to raise the stone which once more covers the sepulchre of the daughter of Jairus. I should walk upon the waves like the apostle if you made a sign to do so. So have care. I should obey in all. Hope, my dear friend, replied the Count. You are playing with me, said Morel, falling from the heights of exaltation to the abyss of despair. You are doing the same as those good, or rather selfish, mothers who calm their child's sorrow with honeyed words because their cries annoy them. No, my friend, I will bury my grief so deep down in my heart and shall guard it so carefully from the eyes of a man that you will need to have no sympathy for me. Goodbye, my friend, goodbye. On the contrary, said the Count, from now onward you will live with me and not leave me. In a week we shall have left France behind us. Do you still bid me hope? I do, for I know a remedy for you. You are only prolonging my agony, Count. Are you so feeble-hearted that you cannot give your friend a few days' trial? I have great faith in my promise, so let us make the experiment. Do you know that the Count of Monte Cristo is capable of? Do you know what he has faith enough in God to obtain miracles from him who said that with faith one would remove mountains? Well, wait for the miracle for which I hope, or, repeated Morel. Or take care, Morel, lest I call you ungrateful. Have pity on me, Count. I feel so much pity for you that if I do not cure you in a month to the very day, mark my words, Morel, I myself will place before you 2 little pistols and a cup of the deadliest poison, a poison which is more potent and prompt of action than that which killed Valentine. Do you promise me this? I not only promise it, I swear it, said Monte Cristo, giving him his hand. Then on your word of honor, if I am not consoled in a month, you leave me free to take my life, and whatever I may do, you will not call me ungrateful. In a month to the day, and it is a date that is sacred to us. I do not know whether you remember that today is the 5th of September. It is 10 years ago today that I saved your father when he wanted to take his life. Morel seized the Count's hands and kissed them, and the Count suffered him to do it, for he felt that this homage was due to him. In a month, continued Monte Cristo, you will have before you on the table at which we shall both be seated 2 trusty weapons and a gentle death-giving potion. But in return you must promise me to wait until then and live. I swear it, exclaimed Morel. Monte Cristo drew the young man toward him and held him for a few minutes in a close embrace. Well then, from today you will live with me. You can occupy Haydée's rooms, and my daughter will be replaced by my son. Haydée, said Morel, what has happened to Haydée? She left last night. To leave you forever? To wait for me. Make ready to join me at Rue de Champellier, and now let me out without anyone seeing me. Well, I hate to say it, but I feel like Alexandre Dumas stole Romeo and Juliet story a little bit. But it is a good device, so we'll forgive him, right? I'll see you guys next time.